Travels have now brought me to Ascension Cemetery, located in Lake Forest, California. There are three big names here that I'm going to give a bio on and pay my respects to. Join me, won't you? Let's go find them. Going around the back of the mausoleum here, if you come to Section A, Tier 16, Grave 81, you'll find the final resting place of the legendary William Hanna. Born July 14th, 1910 in Melrose, New Mexico, he was an American animator and cartoonist who, along with Joseph Barbera, founded animation and production company Hanna-Barbera in 1957. Hanna-Barbera became the most successful television animation studio in the business, and creating classic cartoon programs such as Tom and Jerry, The Flintstones, The Huckleberry Hound Show, The Jetsons, Scooby-Doo, The Smurfs, Yogi Bear, Johnny Quest, Quick Draw McGraw, Magilla Gorilla, Top Cat, and Josie and the Pussycats. Hanna-Barbera Studios produced over 3,000 animated half-hour television shows, along with more than 100 cartoon series and specials. Hanna-Barbera had a lasting impact on television animation, and many of their characters have appeared in film, books, on toys, and other media. In all, the Hanna-Barbera team won 7 Academy Awards, 8 Emmy Awards, and many, many more. William Hanna passed away on March 22nd, 2001 from esophageal cancer at age 90. Always been a fan of Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Watched them when I was a kid. They are legendary. My favorite has to be probably Scooby-Doo, but Tom and Jerry and the Flintstones definitely follow close behind. Johnny Quest was also a legend too. Very, very legendary cartoons. So this next grave is going to be a long one and a very sad one. So not far from where William Hanna is buried, in Section A, Tier 18, Grave 17, is the final resting place of Nicole Brown Simpson. Nicole Brown Simpson was the ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, who she was married to from 1985 to 1992 and had 2 children with, Sydney and Justin. On the evening of June 12, 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson, age 35, and her friend Ronald Goldman, age 25, were found stabbed to death outside her home located at 875 South Bundy Drive in Brentwood, a suburb of Los Angeles. The autopsy determined that Brown had been stabbed 7 times in the neck and scalp. The aftermath was the infamous O.J. Simpson murder case, which spanned 11 months from November 9th, 1994 to October 3rd, 1995, and is often characterized as the trial of the century because of its international publicity, and has been described as the most publicized criminal trial in human history. O.J. Simpson was formally charged with the murders on June 17th after a blood-stained glove was found on his property. After not turning himself in, he became the subject of the infamous low-speed pursuit in a white 1993 Ford Bronco SUV, which was broadcasted live and watched by an estimated 95 million people. Simpson was represented by a high-profile defense team who included Johnny Cochran and Robert Kardashian, the father of Kim, Courtney, Chloe, and Rob. Cochran and the defense team tried to persuade the jury there was reasonable doubt concerning DNA evidence in the case. They contended that the blood sample had been mishandled by lab scientists and technicians, and that the case against Simpson was tainted by LAPD misconduct relating to racism and incompetence. The prosecution's claim was that Simpson drove to Brown's home to try and reconcile their relationship, and when Brown refused, Simpson killed her. Ronald Goldman came by afterwards and was murdered as well in order to silence him and remove any witnesses. Later on, Simpson drove back home where he took off his blood-stained clothes, put them in a knapsack, put clean clothes on, and then headed for the airport. Later at the airport, he disposed of the bloody clothes, shoes, and the murder weapon in the trash. DNA evidence listed Simpson's DNA on the bloody footprints. The trail of blood leading from the victim's blood on the outside and inside of the door of Simpson's Bronco also had Brown and Goldman's DNA. Blood drops at Simpson's Rockingham home, DNA of all 3 persons on a bloody glove. Hair and fiber evidence were also found. From the glove, dark blue cotton fibers found on both victims. Goldman's hair was found on Brown's clothing and vice versa. Fibers from Simpson's Bronco were found on both victims, and the glove had hair and clothing fibers consistent with the victims and murderer and from the Ford Bronco. Simpson's defense team theory that was the DNA evidence against Simpson was compromised by mishandling and that 100% of the real killer DNA had vanished from the evidence samples. The evidence was then contaminated in the LAPD crime lab, and the defense also questioned the timeline of the murders. The defense argued that Simpson was not physically capable of the murders because of chronic arthritis and old football injuries. They also argued that the results from the DNA testing were not reliable because the police were sloppy in collecting and preserving it from the crime scene, and many more defenses when it came to DNA collecting and testing. Simpson was also asked to try on the gloves found at the crime scene and his home. The leather gloves appeared too tight for his hands. The prosecution stated they believed the gloves shrank from being soaked in blood, frozen and unfrozen many times. At 10:07 a.m. on Tuesday, October 3rd, 1995, Simpson was acquitted on both counts of murder. The jury arrived with the verdict by 3 p.m. on October 2nd after 4 hours of deliberation. The murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman remain unsolved to this day. Do you think OJ was guilty or not guilty? Let me know in the comments. Rest in peace to both Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Your lives were tragically taken too soon. So there's the main office right there. And if you come over here to this statue and follow it down, Section A, Tier 33, Grave 351. It's Wilma Flintstone herself, Jean Vanderpyle. Born October 11th, 1919 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was an American voice actress whose career spanned more than 50 years. She is best known as the voice of Wilma Flintstone for Hanna-Barbera's cartoon show, The Flintstones. She also provided the voice of Pebbles Flintstone, Rosie the Robot Maid on The Jetsons, and other voices on Top Cat, The Secret Squirrel Show, and The Magilla Gorilla Show. She also made many television appearances in programs such as Leave It to Beaver, The Donna Reed Show, Father Knows Best, The Beverly Hillbillies, and Petticoat Junction. She passed away on April 10th, 1989 from lung cancer, age 79. At the time of her death, she was the last surviving original cast member of The Flintstones. One of my favorite cartoons of all time is The Flintstones. And I have her to thank for being the voice of Wilma. You see right here, Wilma's right there on her grave marker, right next to her. Beloved mother and grandmother, traveling mercy.